I came here one semester in 2005. So I came fall 2005. So really it was like kind of like a backup. My first thing out of high school, I wanted to go to MICA. That was my main place I wanted to go, Maryland Institute College of Art. And I received a partial scholarship, but that school is really expensive. So my parents were like, nah, we can't really support that. So then I ended up settling for, it's now Stevenson, but it used to be called Village Julie College. They don't have a traditional fine arts major. So it was visual communications. And so for me, I was like, okay, I want the fine arts. How I got to FCC, I was like, all right, well, I tried to go to MICA the next semester, but the scholarship money was lower than it was when I first came out of high school. So I was like, and still I had family still here based on being at Fort Detrick. So I was like, well, let me just go back. Went there for a semester. Then I went back to Village Julie for a semester, and then I traveled to Towson. I took like a course or two and started building it up at FCC because I started living here again. And then from 2008, 2009, I was able to get my associates. And then 2009 to 2011, I was at Hood. And I finished with my bachelor's. If I had stayed on a track if I was at FCC the whole time, it might have been a little different, but I'd say I still had a good experience with just a limited amount of time. There was this professor, he's really revered probably in all our circles, but Dr. Chad Adero, he really has a lot of great passion and energy. And I was in his multicultural class. For us, we're all human at the end of the day, but in terms of representation, I think that's important. And so he was kind of one of the only male professors of color that I've ever experienced before. So that threw me off a little bit because I never experienced that. But at the same time, in the context of what the course was, he's embracing every culture. So we're like, it's like everybody's in there and you're feeling included. The inclusion was there. There's another professor here who's really respected, Wendell Poindexter. It's funny because I had illustration class with him. He was always picking on me because, I'm young, so I was like, man, I'm the best. Like, I'm one of the, so I always would like kind of be a little arrogant with what I'm doing. And he's just like, okay. It's like, he always try me. He always like, okay, you saying you're this. Well, what are we doing here? And so we just had this little back and forth. Eventually it was like, he's my professor. Then over time became a mentor. Then he became a friend. So he actually came to some of my events. They had this event called the Black Heritage Art Show. And it was at the Baltimore Convention Center. So they ran that for a few years. And I see him, he came all the way down to Baltimore from Frederick just to see me at one of my tables. I have an advisor at Hood College, Dr. Ross, Jen Ross, and she's the head of the archaeology department. So she's an archaeologist by trade, but she's the head of the department there. Like, I really feel like she's been supportive of me. When I was there at Hood, I experienced a lot of discrimination there. I was like really like the only African American in my major. In the studio department. I think there was one other person, we had a history class, but she was a class behind me, and coincidentally she experienced a lot of that as well, which I found out later. But there was one particular professor that I was getting it from. Just in class, I always felt like I was picked out. Some of the professors, like they knew how challenging it was, but this person she was almost like the face of the college in the art department. Dr. Ross was able to kind of encourage me to stay in school, and I had some people outside of my family that try to stay. They have a convocation at Hood College for awards for the seniors. I actually created an award on my name, under my name, to invest in students in the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, people of color. I think that was something that was important for me because I stood out. In my time there, there's this award called the Susan Goddard Award in Art. I received that, and that was the highest prize for student in the art major. But then that same person that was there, she brought me aside the day of the award and was like, hey, you only got that because you're older than some of the students. For me, like, you don't know like what my journey was. Like, there was times I was trying to figure out like what to do with school. I gave up for a year or something. So I think like Dr. Ross, she was able to be someone of reason. It's funny because her name is, Dr. Jen Ross, but then I always call her Dr. Ross, blah, blah. She's like, nah, at this point you can just call me Jenny. And I feel weird calling her Jenny, so I'm like, did I graduate now to call you Jenny? But if you're going into like a 4-year university and you're in the dorms, it's just like, just be focused as much as you can. Know that like, hey, you skipped, you missed out on what was happening in the syllabus. The professor's not gonna like hold your hand and recap. I think just the advice is to really be focused and know what you're there for.